What's up, dudes?
Let's get into it, bros.
We about to get into it, as I say. You know what? I watched this video. Joe Rogan, I will never be able to hate or think Joe Rogan is a bad guy. And in this video, I realized Joe Rogan is just sort of a hapless peepaw. That's why he falls for all these anti-vax quacks and these COVID quacks. Before we get into the main thing here, the main bit here, the main clip, where Joe Rogan clearly asserts,
"That is my own sperm."
I want to talk about, I did watch some of the Oliver Stone interview. I'll put this to the audience. Maybe we got some Stoneheads out there. Best Oliver Stone movie. I'm going to go Natural Born Killers on that one. But, you feel free.
Shots, where they were fired from, the impact, like where the exit wounds was, all these various people that were involved. How many people knew what had actually happened? Because it seems like there was a concentration of people that was...
What in Christ's name is Oliver rustling back there? Do you hear that?
Because it seems like there was a concentration...
What is Oliver? What do you do? What is he touching?
All of the people that were involved in manipulating evidence, whether it's autopsy photos, whether it's the evidence about the actual shots. Where
also, a little bit of a problem with the social media fact check. They fact check if you can see down there, they fact check the Kennedy assassination. His accused killer was Lee Harvey Oswald, a former U.S. Marine. Is that all he was? All right, so on to the main video that we wanted to look at today. This guy goes on the Joseph, guys, Rogan experience. His name is Josh Sepps, and he's an Australian network broadcast personality of some kind. He's a journalist, an Australian journalist. And for Joe Rogan, he is the
beginning of the rise of the Antichrist.
No more drops.
Yeah, almost 4 billion people have been fully vaxxed. There's no widespread incidence of worrying disease. That doesn't mean that there aren't...
Worrying disease?
Well, yeah, people aren't dropping dead from the vaccine in those 5 billion double doses. But that doesn't mean that there aren't side effects. And so, I mean, I've tried to do a good job of not...
Some people are dropping dead, right?
Yeah, just not as many as you would if you infected all those people with COVID.
Well, it depends on who the people are. Like if you're talking about the young soccer players that are dropping dead, I don't think they would have died from COVID. For young boys in particular, there's an adverse risk associated with the vaccine. It's like a 2 to 4-fold increase in the instances of myocarditis.
Yes, but you know what?
Hospitalization.
You know that there's an increased risk of myocarditis among that age cohort from getting COVID as well, which exceeds the risk of myocarditis from the vaccine.
I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true. No. I don't think it's true that there's an increased risk of myocarditis from people catching COVID that are young versus increased risk of myocarditis from the vaccine.
No, there is. There's both.
Well, let's look that up because I don't think that's true.
There's both. I mean, there are...
Okay, look, part of why I wanted to do this, I'm going to be straight up, I'm not going to front. I've been fronting a lot lately, and I'm going to stop now. But part of the reason I wanted to do this is because every time I upload a Joe Rogan video, people are like, you don't get it, moron. So Joe Rogan has been having these quacks. Sorry, guys, but these kind of quack anti-vax doctors on. One of them, Dr. Bruce McCullough, I believe his name is.
Hi, I'm Bruce McCullough.
This McCullough guy, his whole thing, this is where Joe Rogan is getting this myocarditis stuff. By the way, you can look up like research on that. Like it's not indecipherable, doctor jargon. You can see the numbers on it. It's shifted from like the vaccine is very dangerous and bad to certain young people maybe shouldn't get it because of heart inflammation. Well, it turns out in these big studies, heart inflammation is very, very rare. And when it does happen, it's very mild. The other thing he mentions is like, there's all these young men dropping dead. No, there are young men dropping dead. Where he gets that is that sort of boomer Facebook, which is, it's very similar to the salons, the intellectual salons of days past, where people just kind of discuss ideas. They're like, oh, remember when Sartre said that, that's what boomer Facebook is like. And they've been passing around these videos of like, think the vaccine's safe. And then it'll be like a reel of just like stories about young men dying. My favorite story about this is the other anti-vax doctor that Joe Rogan had on, who that episode actually got taken off of YouTube, I believe. The other doctor, he's an anti-vax doctor, and he kind of got busted for sharing this video, one of those videos, similar video, about kids dying, healthy athletes dying after the ouchie. And it turned out, and this is not the most respectful thing to the dead, but one of the people that they profiled was a 17-year-old high school football player who, it turns out, died in 2013. So they included him in their theory about that this Fauci ouchie is killing young people. He died in 2013. So that's kind of, this is part of why we love Joe and why I love Joe. He is, he's a peepaw. He's a peepaw. He's like, look what I found. And I'm not just talking about kook right-wing stuff. Even if you go on like lefty Twitter or whatever, it's all made up. It's all made. They'll show like two. You see those Twitter posts where it's like, look at this post. And then they'll say, you flip, look at this post. It debunks the first one. If you look into those, it's always bullcrap. Like, just don't believe. Tell your peepaw, you can't believe any of this crap.
They can shop in. They exert that power. The kind of people that run for office enjoy power. They're fucking weirdos. They're not normal people, and they're not healthy. It's not a healthy job to want to tell people, you're just going to have to get used to COVID. You're just going to have to get used to your vaccines. You're just going to have to get used to COVID. Myocarditis more common after COVID-19 infection than vaccination. But is this with children? Yeah, we're talking about young people.
Men and boys aged under 30 after this is what it says here.
With children is the issue.
Well, no, we were talking about 15-year-olds.
Well, we're talking about young children.
Male child. 12 to 17.
12 to 17, more likely to develop myocarditis within 3 months of catching COVID at a rate of 450 cases per million infection. This compares to 67 cases of myocarditis per million of the same time following their second dose of Pfizer.
Yeah, so you're about 8 times likelier to get myocarditis from getting COVID than from getting the vaccine.
That's interesting.
Now,
that is not what I've read before. But also, it's like, even when we're reading these things, it's like, what are we getting this from? Was this from the VAERS report?
Okay, this is funny because it's like he's kind of realizing it would have been funnier. Like, this is what I would have said, okay? If I was a which look, I would probably trade places with Joe Rogan to smoke weed all day and just count money. That's fine with me. And I don't have time to like sift through all this crap. I would just say, oh man, so wait a second, so those guys that I had on, that millions of people watched those interviews, they were quacks. Yes, Joe, they were, oh, damn it. This is actually fine. This is good. I mean, because Joe's doing a thing where he has someone else from a different opinion on. Totally great. Totally great. It sounds, you watch the whole interview. I watched, it's 3 hours. It's 3 hours of this back and forth crap with this guy. But if you watch it, Joe's there's an emotional attachment to this belief. I mean, he could have just turned to the camera and said,
"What a pervert! What a pervert!"
A great idea.
I don't trust American epidemiological data very much, but the fact that it's a global pandemic and that there are lots of like wonky geniuses in Germany and like South Korea and stuff doing a lot of this research as well, I think that in general I sort of trust the consensus of most of the...
The other thing that I love about Joe...
You're just going to have to get used to COVID.
The other thing that I love about him is he's obsessed with this video. He's obsessed with this video where there's this doctor... And he blows the water vapor through different masks. And Joe, this is like catnip for Joe.
They're smaller than vape particles. And have you ever seen the doctor on YouTube that demonstrates how useless masks are? So he blows vape through masks. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
You should see it because it's pretty. Find that.
But
video.
the epidemiologists say that
if Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive, he would absolutely, he would be on the Joe Rogan show. Joe Rogan would get him on. And Joe Rogan would show him this video. Joe Rogan would absolutely show Martin Luther King Jr. this video. He'd be like, hey, Marty, check out this Check out this video. This guy blows vape through the masks. It proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the masks don't work. And Martin Luther King is just there. Well, Joe, I don't know. Okay, well, I guess we're watching this now. So the guy who does these videos, these vape videos, anti-mask vape videos, he is a retired anesthesiologist. But there's other videos about this. I'm just saying, there's other videos related to masks out there.
The blue dye illustrates that everything has to go someplace. By taking simple precautions, you can decrease the transmission effectively and redirect it to much smaller distances and contain the droplet transmission.
What a pervert.
Do face masks work at preventing COVID-19 transmission?
Masks don't work unless we wear them.
That's what Mayo Clinic researchers say they proved in a recent study.
We found objectively that masks are critically important. They're very effective.
So guys, as you could see from those art installations that those perverts did, I'm just saying, this is all I'm saying, okay, is that there's other videos besides a retired anesthesiologist blowing vape smoke through a mask.
Let's look at the health trade-offs. Let's try to assess what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. When you've got all this chatter coming from some of these alt-right people who are saying, like, literally,
well,
Jamie,
Tim Pool's not alt-right. He's not, and Majid is not alt-right either.
No,
neither one of those guys are alt-right.
No,
that's an unfair assessment.
I'm not saying Majid. I'm not saying Majid.
You're using that pejorative to dismiss what they're saying.
I know it's probably hard to guess this, but that guy who Joe Rogan has on, he's an Australian guy. But the other thing that he has to sort of confront in this, poor Joe Rogan.
When I look at this news, I start having an anxiety attack.
He has to confront all the right-wing, brain-melting propaganda about Australia they're making people live in pods like from the Matrix because of these tyrannical lockdowns. And of course that moron Tim Pool has been scaring the 90-year-old average age of his viewership. The 90-year-old memas and peepaws who watch his program because they think he's a nice young man. That guy has been just like, Australia they're just killing people. If you go outside, they shoot you. It's like Squid Games there.
Have gotten to the brink where they're taking dumps in public.
Dumps in public. Dumps in public.
He's been doing a lot of that crap on his channel. So this guy's kind of like, Tim Pool's a moron. And Joe Rogan's like, he's not alt-right. How dare you? Okay, fine. He's not alt-right. He's just like a Trump grifter, I guess. A Trump con artist, at best.
One thing that Australia's done that's really good is you don't have kids masked up.
We don't have kids. I mean, that's the thing. The weird thing is, in all this whole, Australia has become an authoritarian fascist dictatorship kind of rhetoric that I've seen pouring out of the States. When you close the border and you keep the virus out, then the consequence is not that life gets more oppressive. The consequence is that you're able to maintain this little fantasy land of continuing life as normal.
So it's clear that Joe Rogan sucks in a lot of right-wing media. It's okay. I think it's almost like, does he do this on accident? Like he's like, thinks Tim Pool is just like an unbiased guy trying to find the truth. Like he's like Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he thinks that he's Jake Gyllenhaal in Zodiac. Like he's just digging. He's trying to dig for it's driving him crazy. That's the problem. That's why he has to wear a beanie. Because his brain hurts from all this obsession with the truth.
Darlene Farron worked at the Vallejo House of Pancakes on the corner.
He might not realize he's watching like Lunatic. Like he's watching that media. So it's kind of interesting when this guy explains like, hey, there's a lot of kind of people scaring you on YouTube. Some of them wear beanies, They're putting all this scary stuff up that, memas and peepaws gobble up. But the reality is, and he explains this, it's actually an interesting part of the interview. He's like, what Australia did is when the virus first started popping off, there was no like authoritarian stuff. It was just like, we are going to try to limit this as much as possible because, and this is extremely smart, I think, actually. And I would suggest listening to this interview to get a perspective on it, is their whole thing was like, we're going to, for the first couple months, We're going to take this really, really seriously. We're going to devote a bunch of resources to it because we don't know how serious it is. So when a vaccine is developed, when there's hospital capacity and all that, then we'll back off. But right now, to avoid things getting totally out of control for these first couple months while we like get our footing on this, we're going to do like real serious contact tracing. We're going to try to limit the spread as much as possible by making people quarantine if they were exposed.
The vaccines are effective against Omicron in preventing hospitalization and death.
But everything, but stop, because Omicron is not causing hospitalization and death. It was like 2 months in America, and they still hadn't isolated a single death that they could attribute to Omicron.
That's just early days.
2 months? 2 months is thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are infected.
Most of the people in hospital in Australia are Omicron.
Omicron makes Biden's vaccine mandates obsolete. There's no evidence so far that vaccines are reducing infections from the fast-spreading variant.
Infections, not hospitalizations.
I don't think it's effective in that way either, because it's not causing hospitalizations and deaths.
It is.
So there is a real-world effect to what Joe Rogan is saying here. As cases have soared over the past few weeks to an average of over 737,000 per day, far higher than last week's peak, public officials have argued that caseloads were of limited significance because Omicron was less virulent than the Delta and other variants, and that vaccines, especially the boosters, offer protection against severe illness. But the surge's sheer volume has overwhelmed hospitals across the country. And outside cities like New York, where Omicron hit early and has pushed hospitals to the brink, it is unlikely to have peaked. Yowzers. Not good. So this thing's putting a lot of people in the old hospital. You know, they're doing this. And they ran out of ambulances, so they have to take
Uber cars.
About a quarter of U.S. hospitals, a quarter, jeez Louise, are experiencing critical staffing shortages, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. Some states like Oregon have deployed the National Guard to help. Others like Illinois, Massachusetts are delaying elective surgeries. So there we go, Joe being Joe. You know, I watched most of this interview, and I kind of, I disagree with the sort of like, God damn you, Joe.
God damn America, that's in the Bible. Damn you, Sir Joe.
Getting very upset with Joe. He's just, it's unfortunate that maybe some people who watch his program might be swayed. They might think that, the vaccine is going to make their tuchus fall off or whatever. It's unfortunate, but I have a hard time thinking Joe is like maliciously trying to. I really just think he's a hapless goofball. The most compelling and like easy to find and viral shareable videos, like a retired anesthesiologist blowing vape smoke through masks. He's like, that's truth. The more bite-sized it is, the more truthful it is. That's my assessment. And if you don't like it, you are racist and sexist.
Well, this is the problem that with government, right? With people that have power over other people. It's why we restrict power. Because if you give people an enormous amount of power to control whether people come and go, whether they can work or not, what schools they can go to, what stores they can shop in, they exert that power. The kind of people that run for office enjoy power.
I think I agree with some of what Joseph Rogan said there. This is kind of interesting because he's like, government, if you give government power, these mother are just going to use it on you, okay? They'll use it on that ass. The government will walk up to you and they will say,
that is my own sperm.
But something kind of interesting happened today, I believe. The Supreme Court blocks Biden's COVID requirements for businesses, upholds healthcare worker mandate. So if you don't know what the Supreme Court is, it's a group of people who wear robes.
Perverts.
This is from The Hill. A Morning Consult political poll conducted from November 5th to 7th found that 55% of respondents either strongly or somewhat support requiring large firms to mandate vaccinations. This includes 79% of Democrats and 30% of Republicans. So this is a little bit more complex than what Joe's saying here, because what actually happened is the government kind of tried to do something that most Americans support. And then the Supreme Court and I guess Republicans, but a lot of business groups said, no, we don't want to be regulated. So it's almost kind of the opposite. It's like private power exerting itself. So Joe's like, you give the government power, Yeah, but what about kind of private power? It's just sort of, I don't know, it's kind of left out of the equation a little bit. Just something to think about there.
So there you go.
Just another video for the people who are, for whatever reason, obsessed with Joe Rogan and think Joe Rogan is going to, I don't know, help them somehow. He'll teach them how to kick a heavy bag. People who love Joe, don't you dare make fun of Joe Rogan. He's sensitive. He reads every comment. Those guys out there who think that Joe Rogan watches my videos, calm down. Calm down, you turds. All right? When those Joe Rogan super fans watch my videos, they say this.
When I look at this news, I start having an anxiety attack.
All right, guys. Well, have a nice weekend.
Party.
And you know where I'm going with this, okay? Many of you are going to have a few cocktails, okay? I know you're going to do it. You're going to do whatever you want, okay? Doesn't matter what I tell you because you're going to do whatever you want anyway. Do this.
Uber cars.
Remember to always take
Uber cars.
So you don't do this. Well, first you do this. Then you don't take
Uber cars.
So you do this. Okay, guys, I'm kind of losing. Toward the end of these videos, I start to sort of lose it, you know? Thank you so much for watching.
Arun Brown.
Uber cars.
Bye-bye. Hey, guys. You're only getting a fraction of the weekly shows. If you want a new motherfucking episode every day, subscribe on Patreon for as little as 2 bones. You get the patron-only Tuesday and Thursday shows, the Bookablega show where we look at important books, and the goddamn weekly behind-the-scenes show. And for only 25 bones, you could become a producer and get your name up here. Look at these people. These people make this show possible. If it wasn't for them, nothing. We don't have a show. We got nothing, and it's garbage. And we have to just leave. We have to just basically walk away, and we don't even really know where we're walking. That's the truly troubling part about all this. But please, become a patron today for as little as 2 bones, or 5 bones is another level, or 10, or you go the full 25 and you get up here. Big special thanks to these people. Love you guys. Love you guys so much.